as you said before, Harry.
Okay, next one.
I can take next. My name is Kim, and I have met 3 people for about a year ago, where I started to study all the things I could come by. I have read all Sydney Banks books, and they touched me in my heart in the ways I think that's something I need to work more with. That's about it. I normally work with stress, and I also a gardener. So I use the nature. I use like talking with people who have troubles. So.
Okay. Are we doing a round of introduction now, or what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can.
We were just trying to take a round while you were running around the house.
Thank you. Are we missing some? Anybody who hasn't presented themselves?
Yes, yeah. I didn't. My name is Per Schütz. I'm a regional naval architect. For the last many years, I worked as a life quality coach, doing about 40,000 hours in the chair one-to-one coaching.
Only
I'm sorry?
Only 40,000.
I'm just a kitten, you know. But I'm totally new to the 3 principles. I'm here because I'm curious. I've educated myself autodidact, and this is part of it. Good. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, welcome.
So, Mads, det er din grandonkel.
Yeah. So
Mads,
Harry,
det er faktisk fætter.
Matt has to introduce himself, and then I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, please go on. Do you want me to introduce myself or what? Harry? Harry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, okay.
Okay, I can introduce you. Well, let's put this into a context. I met Harry. Hvad siger du?
Der er også en, der hedder Mads Jacobsen. Ham har vi ikke sagt hej til.
Det er ikke så godt. Mads, så må du ellers se at komme på nu. Just a moment, Harry. Mads, værsgo.
Vi kan ikke høre dig, Mads.
Kan du ikke se ham?
Mads, vi kan ikke høre dig.
Oh, he hasn't got sound, eh?
No, he's not muted.
Can't hear you, Matt.
No. Okay. Well, I think we should revert to him at a later date, a later time, not date. So I would like to introduce the way that I met Harry. I met Harry together with Pernille back in November 2014 in Salt Spring Island, and we had a beautiful chemistry together, and we hit it off immediately. Had a very nice dinner, had a very beautiful talk, and we have kept our connection ever since, and have been writing a little bit, mailing a little bit. And Harry came over here in connection with the conference in London in May, and stayed in our house here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking all about doing this group together. Now, Harry has an extensive knowledge of the principle, because he was one of the first ones to be introduced to them directly from Sydney Banks. So Harry carries around with him a lot of cultural information that really is relevant for the group discussion, also because there are some values in there, the original values, that in some contexts seem to be a little bit diluted. So I think it's correct to say, Harry, that you took your wisdom from Salt Spring Island and the meeting with Sydney Banks and brought it back to your part of Canada and started working with the Canadian Indians. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. I right now I work in primarily three areas, and one is I would definitely say I'm the leading expert in the three principles in the native Indian world, and within that there'll be certain mystical references that we'll have in this show that you'll probably like. Because I've been surprised at how mystical the Danish like their truth. You know, you seem like a very down-to-earth group of people, and that's my interpretation. But definitely, as I've traveled around Denmark, I've seen that the mystical side has been very, very intriguing. And of course, that is a side that I have a very strong understanding of. The other is, and obviously, I want to bring to your attention, I am not a native. And the second area, yeah. So on the second area that I work in, and I have been very, very successful, is the heavily addicted area. And here again is a very interesting analogy. I have no psychology. I've never taken a psychological course, and I have never been addicted. And yet I am one of the lead. I am rising to the top in this area as well, and it has been the area that I've been expanding the most in, because the native world is mystical and people kind of don't understand it, but heavily addicted is a psychological problem, and they do understand the importance of it. And within that, I've been privileged to do do this Zoom room, this international Zoom room every Sunday, and we have roughly 200 to 1,000 views after the show, because it's been so successful and innovative in its approach. And that's what I want to emphasize here. I'm not a status quo type teacher. I do not want to go into just what the three principles are. We want to delve into what we need to understand, and that will bring the group alive. If something's on your mind and you'd like to know the answer, bring it up. I guarantee you that it will be on someone else's mind as well. And the third area that I do is I mentor people, and I don't mentor people the way that other people mentor. I only mentor people where I work on a project with them. And within that context, I teach them as we're working on the project together. And I'm having a lot of fun with it, guys. It's just really like one of the things, Per, that you'll notice about this area is people who teach in the three principle world or teach or share their understanding are having a lot of fun. And the reason, Per, is because we're learning as much as the other person is learning. We're experiencing it for ourselves. And one of the teachings of Sid Banks is do not teach what you have not experienced. So I cannot tell you about certain things that Sydney Banks could, but I can tell you what I have experienced, and that's what I share. And when I share from what I've experienced, you can feel that. But if I'm talking about something that I haven't experienced, but I got the right words, you can feel that as well. And you'll feel the artificiality of that. So you should look for the truth, the real stuff, the real feeling. Yeah, and that's where you'll find what you're looking for. The other thing that you want to look for is what's true for you. You'll hear what other people are talking about and what I'm saying and expressing, but what's true for you is the only thing that resonates with your own heart and your own mind. And when you find a feeling behind that, you can trust it. And even though the rest of Denmark will say you're full of baloney, you know you're not. You understand what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, you follow your heart. And And that's where you'll find the goodies. And even in the three principle world, you have a lot of different levels of consciousness, which basic means different levels of understanding. And you want to listen, know what's true for you. And then you'll be able to walk through that mess, you know, without getting stuck with beliefs and ideas of what you think the three principles are or what truth is and so on. And one of the advantages I have is that I did not come through the psychological mode of the three principles. I came through the spiritual mode. Sydney Banks, who was my teacher, my only teacher, to be honest, he did not talk about the psychological mode of life. The psychologists have talked about that. He talked about what spirit is. Another word for spirit, pair, mind. Same thing, same word, different words meaning the same thing. And within that context, we didn't really listen to Sid Banks's words. We basically our job seemed to be to empty our mind. And the more we emptied our mind, the more what he was talking about came into us. And then we noticed that we changed. And it was a spiritual change, a spiritual understanding. But none of it had relevance, even what Sid was talking about, until I experienced it myself.
Sure. None
of it. Like, it was nice, it was great feelings. When Sid would phone me up, it'd say I had a lousy week, because you got to remember, I was at a much lower level of consciousness than I am now. And, of course, I have grown actually quite a bit. But I say I had a tough week, and Sid would phone me up, and I would have in that week just tons and tons of thoughts and ideas and so on. And I'd say, I can't wait for Sid to phone me up, because I'm going to tell him how shitty my life is, And he phoned me up, and the moment he phones me up, he says, Hari, it's Sid. And I don't know how it happened. It was like I went, and he'd say, how you doing? And I go, fantastic. And I go, where did that come from? All this week I've been preparing to tell him how lousy my life is. And do you see the energy? That's what you're looking for. That elevated energy that takes you into that good feelings. Remember, that energy is coming from you, not from outside. And inside, when you feel that energy, you don't need to have the words. The words are irrelevant. Mind, thought, and consciousness are a funnel that takes you to an understanding that you already are God, or you already are this oneness of life. And that's inside of you. You don't care about the words. You don't care outside. And when I met Christian and Pernille in Salt Spring, what happened was we had a Danish connection, but that was just the lower level. What happened was Christian had jumped about 15 levels of consciousness at the conference. He was a star. He was just incredible. And when we went out to eat, we just hung out together and shared a beautiful feeling. And that feeling just grew and grew and grew. And we knew we were in it. It was fantastic. It helped that we were Danish. No, I'm not Danish, but that Danish feeling. But it was that feeling that grew and grew and grew. And then when I came to Denmark and stayed with Christian and Pernille, the last day, it came out of him again, that feeling. And he says, oh, I've been looking for you, my lost friend. I've been really wanting to speak from that feeling again. And it came out. And do you know where his self-esteem went, Per? Right up to the ceiling. Because he was speaking not about Harry Derbitsky and what he was saying, or Sid Banks and what he was saying. He was speaking Christian Olsen, and he liked it. Just like I like Harry Derbitsky. When Kim was at the talk that we had, he started to talk, and I bet you he was thinking, oh, I'm talking a lot here, but it sure feels good. right? Oh, you got to unmute him. Yeah, you have to do, yeah.
As I had mute because the background sounds is loud sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed the meeting, and I was talking, as I said, and in English. I'm not very good at talking in English or something, but I try and I will learn.
You're doing all right. You're doing all right.
There was a inquisitiveness and a fascination in what you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's what we want in this room. We want to be students of this investigation. Nobody is ahead here. Nobody. It's just if say I talk and this higher energy comes out, that comes from all of us. All of us. We're all interconnected here. For a little while, we get to share a feeling. And the deeper the feeling, the wiser, the more wisdom comes into you. This is exactly what I'm teaching, how to get out of addiction. I never hardly mention the word addiction. I'm not into an analysis of the problem. I'm into...
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
In the beginning, you said you are not addicted to, what was it you said? Something like that. So I was wondering, what addiction is it you're not addicted to?
Well, I'm not addicted to drugs and alcohol, which are...
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, that's I have addictive behaviors or baggage that every human being has that I'm privileged to have in my own unique way. And every time I get rid of this baggage or addictive behavior, my personal power grows.
Of course.
Of course. I'm lighter, you know. Poof, you know. Yeah, of course. So that's what so we all are addicted on one level. But I'm talking about through an outside substance, which is the heavy drugs, which are very prevalent in Vancouver, and alcohol, which is very, very also very prevalent. So I'm dealing with people who have taken themselves off the street in a recovery center and talking and teaching them.
Right. Now in Denmark, you know, I like 25, 30 years ago, you always had to handle the addiction and a new client. But alcohol and drugs is becoming losers' game now. My new clients, they have much less addiction to alcohol and drugs than they did have 30 years ago. That's what I experienced.
Yeah, it's true and smoking as well, by the way.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, same thing. And so what happens is you see that the health of people who are living in a relatively healthy model of what life is, they have free will to navigate their way through some of this stuff. At the end, Per, it's always the person who heals themselves.
Sure.
So you're just saying that in a different way, that we have that natural innate health or this wisdom inside of ourselves to heal ourselves. And that's what I'm basically telling the heavily addicted, except they have an image with themselves. So the clients you're dealing with have an image that they're kind of a winner and they've got a little bad habit. These people have an image that they're a loser right across the board, and they have to fix their problem before they can become a winner. And the problem is relapse. They keep going in, and when they go in, they get stuck in time, Per. Their life stops, and within that context, I'm telling them the exact opposite of what everybody else is telling them, and that's part of the problem. The society, it does not have the answer to this scenario because it doesn't have the wisdom. And so society is wrong. And in Denmark, you have the perfect socialist system to help people, except without wisdom, it doesn't work.
Sure.
True.
Marriage without wisdom doesn't work, right, Pernille?
Yes.
Love her to participate with all of that expansive interest. Yeah. You know, so without wisdom, nothing works. Mats, Winkle, Olsen. Okay, there's two Mats. Mats 1 and 2. Your relationship with yourself doesn't work without wisdom, right?
I have acknowledged that through life. Yes.
Yeah. It's another word for wisdom, common sense. That's Sid would say. Wisdom and common sense is the same thing. So we are looking for wisdom, which is our relationship with our true self. And we want to be physician, heal thyself, where we have the wisdom to navigate our way through. And like, we're going to have problems. Sid said life is a contact sport. So you can't pretend, oh, I'm a spiritual being and I'm happy. And, you know, everybody says to me, oh, Harry, you're so happy. I am. I'll admit it. You know, excuse me, but I am happy. But that doesn't mean I don't have problems. It doesn't mean that once in a while I don't get stuck up in my thinking. All I know is that the emptier and the less I pay attention to this, the more spiritual life is. This is a spiritual event, this room. We have initiated something brand new. That's original thought. Original thought is spirit. We've done it. We broke the mold. We've created something spiritual. And I was very, very aware when this room started that it was a spiritual event, not a hairy event or a Christian event. It's a
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. That's, even though that's,
who said that?
That's absolutely, yeah, imagine it being a Christian. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. You know, but you know what, it's not that type of event, this three principles. It's a collective consciousness movement. And for whatever the reason, Denmark and me have a connection that's just the right time for this to come out. And we start from here. And if we share positive feelings, it grows like flowers in the garden. I promise you, all we have to do is share positive feeling and it will naturally grow by itself. It can't help but do that because positive feelings attract positive feelings. And you want to change your life? Start sharing positive feelings. The problem with being addicted is you're only sharing bummed out feelings with yourself. Well, of course, what are you going to be? I'm going to be a bummed out person, you know? So of course, when I'm bummed out, the only thing that makes me feel good is drugs or alcohol. So, you know, you go to the best feeling and that's your spiritual pursuit. But in the three principles, inside everybody, we're all equal. Everybody has that inside of you. And that's where you talk to if you're helping people. Like Kim, when you're talking to people, talk to them in the inside. And when you see that, feel that, there's no prejudice. There's no outside people. You know, I work with Native Indians. Nobody has penetrated that culture like I have. And to be honest, they look shits. You know, their face, you think you're talking to the most bummed out person in the universe. But the moment they open their mouth, they start talking about the world of spirit, and they're teaching me. And I'll tell you, I've learned a lot from them.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I know there was an Indian over here called White Horse giving a lecture some years ago, and I talked to him for about an hour afterwards, and it was just spirit. It was fantastic. Yeah. So
spirit, whether it comes from a native or spirit when it comes through Christianity, spirit when it comes through Buddhism, or it's still just spirit, and you want to connect. You want to, like, if your mind works, like some people just want to go into the three principles and that's everything they need and it answers all the questions. But my mind likes to connect things.
I see it a little different. I see the connection is there, but you don't disconnect.
Well, that's perfect. Per, that's 100%.
That's a pretty good explanation.
Mm.
That's the
All our
It's really,
problems.
it's really what you said earlier, Harry, that initially all through all the time there's nothing broke.
No.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, nothing is broke and nothing is lacking. So it's not a question of reconnecting. It's acknowledging that the connection is already there.
Right. Yes.
All our problems comes with our thinking, as I understand it. And
True.
when we are thinking that Christianity are different from narrative or other people with other faiths, we are forgetting one thing. We're forgetting we all are humans. We are made of the same stuff. And we are functional as the same way. We have thoughts, we have feelings, we have a body, but we are a spiritual creation that have a body. But we learn in that world we're living in that we are a body that have thoughts, that have feelings, and maybe a soul. And that's the wrong direction to see it. If we take the 3 P's, mind, consciousness, and thoughts are the 3 points all things have inside to manifest anything. We are the consciousness that are experience what the world are giving us and experience what our thoughts are creating in our mind, our little monkey mind. When we believe it, we will be it. When we can look at it and see it, be aware of the feeling in our body, the thoughts in our mind, and look at the world the senses are sending inside us, then we will have no troubles because we know all the different things that are happening in our sphere, or what we will call it, and see it as experience. Nothing, not something that will harm you or something that will enjoy you, but it's always better to have enjoyable thoughts, but than bad thoughts, because it gives you energy to live your life, to be connected with those people you have around you. I think that's the most like words. That's the most important, to see things from the right perspective.
Well, to experience
Yes.
it from the right perspective.
Fine thing, Harry.
Yeah, because when you try to do it right, which happens quite often in the 3 principles, where you're seeing positive and negative thoughts, you want to go past that.
Yeah.
You just want to go into where you feel what when you started talking, Kim, you were coming from a feeling, and that's the strength of what it. And then as you talked, you got a little bit lost in it, and so you got back into your head, and then you started to define. We're not interested in defining what spirit is. It's undefinable. All we know is that when we are experiencing it inside of ourselves, not only does it grow, it explodes our images of who we think we are. So I'm sitting here now, compared to where I was a year ago, or 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, and in a way, I'm kind of enjoying that. I had so many strange ideas about who I am. and they've been pushed away that I'm not actually paying attention to who I am anymore. And that's the problem, is we want to step outside of our little mind, our ego, and our images and our definitions. One of the problems with the three principles, you're not doing it, Kim, but one of the problems is that because you've got a sense of it, you're ahead of other people. I'm sure you can feel that in certain ways. You have a privileged perspective because the three principles have taken you into a deeper understanding of the three spiritual principles of psychology. They explain life in a purer way, but that's not what you're interested in. What you're interested in is the feeling.
Exactly.
That's what Sid was teaching on Salt Spring.
And that Harry is I think when you talk about the principles, you get tied up in mechanics and to a great extent, and you forget that what you really want to communicate is what is before that three principles, because you want to connect you want to share the feeling of what's before form, what's before the principles, because if you do that, then you will automatically resonate with other people without even having to say anything. So if every time you're sharing the feeling with persons, you are healing them, and there's a healing process going on between you, the two of you, that really doesn't need any words.
That's what happened to Chris, Pernille, and me when we went out for dinner on Salt Spring Island.
Yeah.
There was this big feeling, and when we left, we all felt elevated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Christian or Pernille or Harry. It was this communal feeling, this Danish feeling of coziness that we walked into.
Okay. And I don't know whether any of you guys, because I have that feeling now. I don't know whether any of you register the feeling at the moment in this conversation room.
I'm feeling light and fine with all you guys, and I think it's fine.
Oh yeah, you're a real cool pair. You're picking it up. There's no doubt about it. You're picking it up. You're just sitting at you. Look, if you don't think, you got it.
Yeah, that's true.
I started another modality some years ago, and the watchword was "Don't feel or think." No, sorry, don't think. Look. Look, don't think.
Yeah, that's very wise. That's
step on a road.
Yeah. Sid would say the only reason you have a problem is lack of consciousness. To use your analogy, lack of looking.
Mm.
That's the only reason we have a problem is because we're not conscious. We're not conscious of being in the now.
Sure.
And, it's kind of crazy, but the reason you can help so many people is because you're pointing them towards being in the now, and that's what the three psychological principles. That's Sid would say. Just change your mind, change your thought, and be in the now.
Mm. That is very interesting, Harry, because I have been studying and working a lot with time. This terrible thing called time. Because if you could
what time is it? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
If you could just drop all time.
That's actually, you just described what Sid would talk beyond time, space, and matter. That's actually a quote from what you in your own words, but exactly what Sid said.
Yeah, but that's probably because if you observe the universe, then you see.
That's
time is an illusion.
Yeah.
But that's what makes you stuck in your thoughts.
And stuck in time.
And yeah, sure. Mm.
Yeah. That's dead on. That's an insight you have there, by the way. That's very good.
Yes.
That makes the whole session, gives it a relevance that's very good.
Sure. Mm.
Yeah. How about you, Mats Olsen? How are you? give us a little thought just to spur us into something interesting.
Now you're into thoughts again.
Yeah. We have to start somewhere.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
can.
Bring it out.
Okay.
Well, basically, I'm actually trying just to observe and just to see what comes up of thoughts, but trying not to pay them too much attention. So
Forget about the thoughts. Try to feel the atmosphere.
I'm feeling the atmosphere, and I'm feeling very good.
That's a pretty good approach. That's a good approach.
It is. Sid, there was he talked, say, 200 people, and this woman raised her hand and says, I can't understand a thing you're saying. He was very irritated. And he says, first thing he said was, that's good.
Yeah.
She said, what do you mean that's good? She said, because that's the truth. Nobody here understands what I'm saying. And so, and then he said, are you getting a good feeling? And she says, yeah, I have a really good feeling. He says, that's it. You're getting it. That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's not the more you sit in that space that you're talking about, Mats, and you take that feeling into your day-to-day ordinary life, exactly the same feeling with the same blasé type of thing, that is where the wisdom sits.
Yeah.
The quieter your mind is, the more silence you experience as you're going into this crazy world, the more you'll see where the source of your happiness is, the source of your wisdom, and of course the source of your feelings. And they are inside you, not inside this room. They're inside of you. And that's all I'm doing, is thinking less. I'm just trusting my feelings. I make very few decisions now from my thinking. I think sometimes I like to let it come out, and it develops ideas and so on. I love that. But in terms of making decisions, almost none through the normal process that other people do. And that's the reason my life has exploded, because I can become a genius by not thinking. Crazy, isn't it? Doesn't make sense. That's the opposite of what the world is teaching. And in Denmark, they're very proud of how they think, and they're very, very well organized and but they still get really pissed off when you cut them off on the road and they honk and do all this stuff. They get irritated really quickly, yet they're so peaceful on the outside. It's not quite. The outside and the inside are one.
Disconnected.
Well, at least they express the feelings, huh? If they honk the horn and get angry.
Yeah, that's right. Just what the world needs, a lot more of that. There's not enough wars and prejudice and antagonism in the world as it is. And that's exactly what Christian wants Pernille to do. Come on, Pernille, get all that ugly stuff out so that I can really feel it and stuff. It will make me feel really happy.
But when people express their feelings, they're much easier to be around because you know what's going on.
Well, that's not totally true, Pears. I'm sorry, that's not a correct assessment. Your clarity comes from your feelings inside and the quiet of your mind, and there's no problem in that area.
I'm not talking about clarity, I'm talking about the social getting around each other is easier.
Yeah, well, the Danish people do have a tendency to be inward and one-faced and all that type of stuff.
That's right.
So I mean, this expressive feeling that I came with is because I come from a North American Jewish background type of thing. Yeah, of course it has its advantages, but if you're playing poker, the other is actually more advantageous.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then you don't show your feelings.
That's right, exactly. So, to be honest, we don't change our culture. We don't change who we are. You're not trying to be like, we're not trying to be like Sid Banks. You know, it's Sid Banks when he became enlightened, he didn't change on one level. He just stayed Sydney Banks. His personality was basically passionate and expressive. The way he related and the way he laughed, he loved the good laughs and senses of jokes and stuff. That didn't change. The change was that he became a much more well-balanced, well-rounded, sensitive human being, and his ability to feel, to act from non-fear, non-insecurity just kept growing. And his loyalty as a friend, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Per, he had a tough job with me. And that he stayed loyal to me as a friend is something I'll value till I die. Because I mean, I dropped the ball a lot, not a little bit, a lot. And so that is, you know, so he personified, and you have to understand his experience was a fluke. It wasn't something that he did. It was just a fluke. To his dying days, he said that. It was just a fluke. It wasn't.
What does a fluke mean?
Can you translate in Danish, please, Christian?
Et øjebliksheld. A lucky break, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, lucky.
It was an epiphany or what?
Yeah, so he was just an ordinary guy living his life, and for whatever the reason, it happened. But when it happened, he had the courage and wisdom to step into it and then to share it with the world. And now people like Kim, who has never met him, that has, right, Kim? You haven't met Sid Banks, but you have. He's in your heart.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And that's what strikes me. People who have met him and known him for a long time have less of a feeling than Kim has. How could that be? Yet it's true. And that's the feeling that you have with Sid, which is impersonal Sid now, please, not Sid Banks, the man, the guru, and all that bullshit. That feeling you have is a connection to yourself, an ordinary human being who had no right to be enlightened, had a realization that took him all the way home. Period. That's all. No big deal. We have an experience that takes us steps along the way. And thank goodness, excuse me just a sec. Thank goodness we have this example to follow. You see, knowing about enlightenment has given me an advantage, a big advantage. I know the bullshit around enlightenment. That's truth. That's what you want to see, the bullshit around all these images. Matt's just, your mind and your wisdom will tell you what's true. And yes, you'll make mistakes. Yes, you'll be a human being. But so what? That's what the principles are there for, to navigate us back home again. And isn't it wonderful that some crazy little Scotsman covered these three principles that I, to this day, cannot imagine how anyone saw or looked, you know, to use your word. I can't imagine anyone seeing these, but they're true. And that's why they've resonated around the world. And they've brought us here today in, you know, with this common theme. And all I can tell you is we can't understand these principles. So that's what I'm telling you. It's crazy, man. That's mystical. It's crazy. That's yeah.
I think we in a deep level of consciousness can understand the three principles, but we will never could express that understanding to
That's
others.
true. That's true.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's only a feeling of knowing.
exactly. Exactly.
And what a feeling it is. And
Yeah.
you know what we call that? Healing.
Yeah.
That's healing. That's all I'm pointing to people in the addicted world, is what you just described. That's it. That's my full teaching. Now you could go and do it yourself, you know, type of thing. And that's why I love the area, Kim. It's really, it's a really tough area theoretically. It's the most easy area in the world to teach, if you see it the right way, if you look and see. And you
See. Yes.
And the funniest thing of all, Kim, was it was the area that I was the most hopeless in, because I was trying to fix the people. I would get into their description of their problem and try and explain to them how that description could improve. And I always walked away feeling like I was hopeless in this area. And then one day, my level of consciousness grew, and I was invited to come into this recovery center. And I said, oh, I hate this area. And then the moment I opened my mouth, it was different. I wasn't talking about their problem anymore. I was just talking about what you just described. That's all Sid did. That's all he's talking about, is what you just described and expressed. It sounds a little too simple, doesn't it?
Well, this is always simple, in my opinion.
Simpler the better was what Sid would say.
Right.
And you see that in people, and that's what depicts people's level of consciousness in the three principles pair.
Mm-hmm.
The simpler they see it, the wiser they are.
Mm-hmm.
Elsie Spittle just has feelings. She just doesn't get caught up. Chip, same thing. And on a certain level, myself as well, because we come from that understanding that was taught on Salt Spring. And then the psychologists came and they took it, and of course they've been extremely beneficial and successful to what we need to hear. I mean, I do want to be happy myself and understand how to get myself out of my personal problems. But that's not Sid's essence of message. It's the feelings inside, and his dying day, he said it. And whenever we had an epiphany around Sid, he'd always say, that came from you, not me. And, you know, and it's the same thing. And when Pernille has this feeling of love from Christian, there is a tendency to think it comes from Christian, but the wise woman sees that it came from her, and he happened to also be there. That's a totally different feeling than being dependent on another human being. And that was my biggest problem with Sid Banks. I was dependent upon him. And that error held me back a long, long way. Long, long time. But one day, through the grace of God,
yeah,
that's all I could say. And I don't know why. I honestly can't understand what happened. It just happened to me very late in my life. That's the way it is. Yet I wouldn't change one iota of problem, one iota of pain in the ass experience, because I know I needed that to clean myself up to arrive here. Harry Derbitsky was full of traps, full of stuff. I had more stuff than 20 people. But what's the difference? The only difference is you arrive at a good feeling, and all of a sudden you start to share with great people. I mean, really, when Christian, Pernille, and I went out, one of the things we could say was, gee, we're all three really great people. That's how we felt. you know, and it, yeah. That's what Sid wants you to see is your beauty.
Mm.
I promise you that's what he wants you to see. You feel that, you take that feeling, and you share it. It grows like a flower.
Great. Harry, that was nice.
Well, this was a treat, guys. And so...
Do anybody have any questions at all to Harry?
We haven't seen Mads Jacobsen. Where's Mads? Mads Jacobsen, hvor er du henne?
Han har et problem med sin speaker. Okay.
Vi kan ikke høre dig, Mads Jacobsen.
Okay.
Han snakker, men vi kan ikke høre ham.
Harry, that was a great note. Do you think we should end on that note, which you just
I think so.
finished off with?
We have no schedule, I think, but it, you know, it seems like that feeling that we stepped into is that's Sid's teaching on Salt Spring Island. So
I think that is correct, and I think that one of the things that I originally were a little bit frustrated about in Salt Spring Island was really that the sessions were so short as they were. But it turned out to be very, very wise, because afterwards things start to work on you. So you really need time to consume what you have been through and what you have listened to. So I tend to agree. I think it's a perfect time to round up.
And if you don't push this, but if we can get one or two more people, that would be great. But the truth is, we can see that the smaller crowd is actually a better crowd in many ways. Like we're able to talk together, but we'll see. And Meta will come on next week, so she'll bring a professional and a psychological, and within that, it's the same format. She's the guest, but she is not a webinar approach where she does all the talking. Kim, you still share. I will. Yeah, please do. You can feel how welcoming that is. And on one level, this format allows each of us to share our wisdom, like Mats did, like Per did, and you know, and at the end where Christian did with his sharing of that beautiful little message. And of course, Pernille's yes. You know.
Can I?
Yep.
Double up.
Yeah. So we'll see. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say something. Today I made a Facebook page called Hope and Challenges, where we will publish also on Facebook the events that are coming up here in the near future.
And we will bring guests as well, by the way. So
exactly.
One of the things, one of the reasons the other Zoom room is so successful, it's an international Zoom room on addiction on 3P, is that we do offer a lot of variety. And our attempt here is to present things from a lot of different perspectives. And we have Steve Adair come on. The psychiatrist, Dr. Bob Johnson, has already agreed to come on. As we grow, we'll bring in the most famous people. I have good contacts out there, and they rarely turn me down, you know, type of thing. Either that or they have a choice. Either they accept or they turn me down and have to listen to my bad jokes. So that's a lot of leverage there. Yeah.
I agree to that.
Good to see all you guys. Farewell.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Harry.
Bye, Harry.
Hej.
Hej, Per.
Tak. Kære alle sammen. Tak for nu.
Selv tak.
Selv tak.
Mads Olsen,
Ja,
kan du ikke vente med at lægge på?
det kan det godt. Hvad så, fru Olsen? Hvad så?
Dags?
Dag. Nu har du brugt et ekstra ord, som Harry vil sige.
Hvad synes du om det, Mads?
Jeg synes, det er rigtig hyggeligt.
Er der kun os tre på nu?
Ja.
Er der også tre nu?
Ja, tag lige. Jeg skal lige hjem og lige ud på toilettet her. Det kan jeg ikke kunne gøre. Ja. Ja, man får sgu ikke mange ord indført. Kan du se det?
Ja, det kan jeg godt se. Men
Hvad synes du, Mads?
Ja, jeg synes, han er rigtig sød. Og jeg synes, det er rigtig dejligt at høre ham relatere tilbage til, hvad Sydney Banks sagde. Altså, hvad det handler om.
Ja.
Så er det dejligt.
Men han snakker meget, ikke?
Jo, han kører på. Han kører på.
Og han bliver ved.
Ja, jeg kan godt lide det. Jeg synes, det er hyggeligt.
Ja.
Det er hyggeligt, og jeg får nogle rigtig dejlige følelser undervejs. Så,
ja. And that's what it's all about.
Hvad synes du selv?
Hvad? Hvad synes jeg selv?
Hvad synes du selv om det?
Hvad jeg synes om ham?
Nej, hvad synes du om seancen?
Jeg synes, at han snakker for meget. Han bliver ved. Så jeg sad på et tidspunkt, hvor jeg blev lidt irriteret over, at altså Per ville gerne have snakket mere måske, eller jeg synes, han snakker meget. Det må jeg sige.
Ja.
Per er simpelthen fars fætter.
Hvor, gennem hvad?
Farfar.
Okay.
Hans Pers mor var kusine til farfar.
Hold lige et øjeblik. Jeg skal lige have den her recording til Musa, kan du... Øjeblik.
Ja.
Altså
farfar var kusine. Hvad?
Nu er vi er simpelthen optaget.
Ja, og det synes jeg ikke skal med. Det vi sidder og snakker om her.